The following is brought to you by Sports Radio New York.
Here tonight with another frequent guest here. Second time in the studio, Dee?
Third, I think.
Third time in the studio. Dee Karl writes a popular blog, fan blog, theseventhwoman.blogspot.com.
Yep, and also on Hockey Buzz now.
Right now, hockeybuzz.com. So your writing is growing. It's all over the web now.
Yes, I'm everywhere, sadly.
Well, I know today, you were before we get into the Lighthouse Project, and I definitely want to talk to you about that because we know how the deadline is coming October 3rd. Charles Long had set the deadline for this, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I know you were at the Islanders practice today, and the season's going to be kicking off. When's their opener?
Their home opener is Saturday the 3rd, and they do have their last preseason game against the Devils on Tuesday the 29th.
That's right. So now you're at practice this afternoon. They were up in Facet at Iceworks, an Islanders practice facility. How did the team look? You said a long practice today.
They did a double practice. They had 2 sessions. They had very little time in between. They looked great. We had 3 of the recovering players, Doug Waite, Sean Bergenheim, and Bruno Gervais, were all on the ice. And they looked actually very good. The practice went well, and Coach Gordon didn't have to yell a lot, so that's always a good thing.
Well, they got a lot of young guys on the team, of course. A
lot of young guys.
And the goaltending situation, I want to talk to you about that because last year, of course, the Islanders were kind of caught with their pants down a little bit with Di Pietro, and McDonald and Jan Dene did a great job.
Yep.
But this year, the team went out and got 2 solid veteran goaltenders, and Rawlinson and Marty Veron. So they seem set there. It makes you wonder, though, how much longer for if ever is he going to come back?
Well, they just want to make sure that when he does come back, he is 100%. I did see him today, actually. There was a Di Pietro sighting in the building.
Wow.
So he was there. He was working out. He didn't have pads on, but he wants to make sure that he doesn't re-injure himself and that when he does come back, he is 100%. Biron and Rolison are a perfect tandem. They're great guys. I watched them today. Biron was wonderful in net. I will say, and I did write this on the blog, Rolison did get scored on 3 times, twice by John Sim within a matter of a minute.
So Biron's got the early edge here to start the season?
From my eyes, Biron has the early edge.
Sounds like you just have a little preference for Biron.
No. I was watching.
Looks sharper.
And he just, and just the whole attitude and, how he was positioning himself. But
right.
I'm sure that, Dwayne's an excellent goalie, and we're set in net, which is great.
Yeah, no, I think that was a smart move by Garth Snow, solidifying. So that's obviously one of the, if not the most important position on the team. Now, they have, of course, a lot of young guys. Bailey's kind of got a year under his belt now. Oposo, if he recovers from the butterflies the other day.
Yeah, he looked great today, too. He wasn't out on the ice, but he did a full day of
cardio working.
Yes,
right.
Everything. And then he did walk over to the ice. He was looking a little sad not being out there with the rest of the team, but he stayed the whole day.
Well, that's the competitiveness in him. And,
absolutely.
And, I think guys like Bailey and Oposo, to me, are the 2 key guys in terms of the younger group. They seem to be the leaders, and I think Bailey, with some experience now, maybe he's a little bit stronger this year. It'd be curious to see how he performs early in the year and how this team starts off.
Josh Bailey has really grown a lot, but you know what? You might be surprised because some of the prospects that they had, if you look back at the preseason, the goals that came from very unusual places. And,
Well, preseason is kind of, a lot of younger players who are not going to get a lot of time there's some guys that made an impression on you, though?
There are a lot of guys that made a big impression on Coach Gordon, and that's the most important thing. And there's a lot of new faces down in Bridgeport, and they would all be ready to come up if they had to.
Right.
The biggest problem that I think they have is there's not enough spots for the good players that we have. Calvin DeHaan, prospect 2009, he has been wonderful in preseason, and it's just they don't have any spots for him, so he'll probably go back to juniors, I think.
Well, let's see what happens this year. I think it should be another interesting year. They're solid in net. They got some good young players, so let's hope that they can start off the year right. And, of course, they're going to start off the year on the same day that Charles Long set this deadline.
Absolutely.
We talked a little bit before the show about how initially when Long bought the team, he had this vision to build a new arena. Something wasn't called the Lighthouse Project, I don't think, at the time.
No.
But he wanted to keep politics out of it. He wanted to and it's taken him so long now, and it came to the point where it just seemed he had to set a deadline to get the town to move and try to get these things done. I read in the paper today, I think he spent was it $15 million?
$15 million
$15 million
on the Lighthouse Project development
research
alone.
and trying to answer questions and so forth.
Yep.
So I mean, it seems like he's been giving it his due diligence and
Absolutely.
trying, his honest effort to try to make this happen. And the town seems to have been dragging their feet. They set a deadline
And actually, if you remember, it's the fact that the Nassau County was the one who wanted this project done. And they're the ones who came to him and said, what can you do
kind of
in
ironic.
this place? Yes, and they won the RFP, and now then it was left to the town of Hempstead, and they indeed had been delaying certain things, not returning calls, not scheduling meetings, and it was only when the larger politicians had started to become involved that, yes, they started to move along. So you'll hear from the town that they're moving as fast as possible. They had the hearings. It took them a while to schedule the public hearings, but they did have them. The problem with the last one on that last Tuesday on the 22nd was the fact that they should have been discussing the questions that they had earlier. The questions that they were broaching on that panel in public that whole day are questions that had been answered in our DGIS.
Now, I read that in the paper, too. Now, first of all, I read that some people felt that Wong and Reichler were unprepared for some of the questions, but that seems to me, like, you spend $15 million on all this research, they submitted documents.
6,000 pages.
What is the town doing then? If these questions have been answered in documents, are they just not doing their homework? Are they playing some type of political game, or what exactly is going on there?
My personal opinion is, yes, that there is some sort of political agenda that is being that is.
So waiting to the last minute, so that the people that are against it, when they approve it, hopefully, let's say, that they try to make it seem like, well, we tried to look at it. Is that what's going on a little?
I think so. And if you look back historically at the last meetings that they had, there had been no opposition. The opposition had been minimal.
Right.
All of a sudden, it was as if this opposition just came to the surface out of nowhere. Where had this opposition been all of these months prior? This is a development that had been in the works for 8 years. Some of the people on the board actually looked as if they had never seen the development. They were asking questions about certain buildings.
Yeah, the height of certain buildings.
And the streets. They knew which streets. If they had read the DGIS, they would know which streets had already been discussed, and it had been approved by the DOT and the DPW. So then why are you asking the same questions now?
Right.
Why are they stalling like this?
It is puzzling why they would ask those types of questions that they should have the answers to already. But
actually, the answers are in the 6,000 pages. Perhaps they just didn't want to read it.
Maybe there's a lot of pages to read.
It is a lot of pages.
But